today. This is a big deal today. President Donald Trump's legal team is expected to file challenges today to both attempts to take him out of contention in those states. Both Colorado's Supreme Court and Maine's Secretary of State have cited the Constitution's 14th Amendment, Section 3, insurrection clause. Political experts from both sides of the political aisle say this just hurts the left in the long run.
I do think it would rip the country apart if he were actually prevented from running, because tens of millions of people want to vote for him. I think if you're going to beat Donald Trump, you're going to probably have to do it at the polls.
Well, it's anti-democratic, and it looks like a stretch, and it is a stretch. This has done nothing but help Donald Trump, which is ironic given the nature of the people filing these actions in the states. They hate Donald Trump, and yet they are helping him enormously.
Here's a headline from the Wall Street Journal's editorial board making a similar point that you just heard from Karl Rove. Maine casts its ballot for Trump. The Democratic Secretary of State plays into the former president's hands by blocking his candidacy. Quote, Maine is unlikely to matter in the GOP primary. And meantime, Secretary Bellows is giving Mr. Trump another chance to tell Iowa and New Hampshire Republicans that Democrats are attempting to steal the 2024 election before the voting begins. Democrats really do want to run against Donald Trump next year. The former president faces at least 11 more pending lawsuits looking to kick him off state primary ballots, including one in my very next guest state. In focus now, Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Great to have you. Happy New Year and blessings to you and your family. Let's get started with the ballot fight against Trump in Wisconsin.
Well, good morning, Harris, and Happy New Year to you as well. Listen, this is just further proof that the left, the radical left, is trying to divide this country, to tear it apart. That's what's happening here. This is just a continuation of it. And the radical left infiltrated our university systems. Now they're graduating journalists that aren't journalists anymore. They're advocates for the left. They're graduating teachers and indoctrinating our children. They're pushing things like critical race theory, identity politics. The left is dividing this country. And as Lincoln, quoting scripture, said, a house divided cannot stand. Again, I don't know what their end game is here other than destroy this country and then rebuild some socialist utopia. But it is literally tearing our nation apart, but it is coming from the left, and people need to understand this. This isn't just happening. This is their strategy.
Well, you know, this can happen to anybody. I don't think the left has really thought this thing through. I mean, once you start keeping people off ballots, I mean, it could be any people. It could be Democrat people.
Well, I think the left has completely thought this through. You go back to Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radical. It's divide and conquer. That is what the left is doing. And I've said this in the past, if you were asked to develop a strategy to destroy this country, you'd be hard-pressed to come up with a better game plan than what Biden and his administration is implementing. The open borders, the massive deficit spending, sparking 40-year high inflation, a war on fossil fuel, the embarrassing and dangerous surrender in Afghanistan, which has emboldened our enemies, has drawn China and Russia and Iran and North Korea together. Now they're cooperating. This is a very dangerous world because of American weakness caused by the division that the radical left is pushing on America.
I want to show you this. It's former Attorney General Bill Barr with a new op-ed on the former president's ballot drama. He says he opposes Trump and any efforts to ban him from the ballot. Quote, the efforts to knock him off the ballot are illegally untenable, politically counterproductive, and most ominously destructive of our political order. The Supreme Court needs to act swiftly to strike down these foolish decisions. Your response?
Well, Bill Barr is right. But again, I try and point out the fact the radical left has infiltrated every institution of this country, including our media. And so these secretaries of state, these individuals that are doing it, these courts that are pushing these types of measures, that are pushing them off the ballot, they're not getting criticized in the mainstream media by and large, other than the hand-wringing of some of their political operatives who think maybe this won't be helpful in the general election. But by and large, they do this with impunity in terms of the public pressure and pressure from the mainstream media, because the mainstream media, by and large, are advocates for the left.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the shoe were on the other foot, people would be in the streets over this if somebody were trying to kick Joe Biden off the ballot because, or whatever reason they would come up with, or the 14th Amendment, it could be anything. I think that the response would be not as, I don't even want to say complicit, but as you said, just it's quiet. It's just happening.
We know that'd be the case. We saw the riots in the summer of 2020. We don't see the FBI undertaking just a massive effort to round up those individuals that rioted in the summer of 2020 because they're rioting from the left. Instead, they've done a massive investigation into anybody even showing up at the Capitol on January 6th if you're a potential domestic terrorist, a MAGA Republican. So no, it's not a level playing field. It's not a fair fight. Again, the left has infiltrated every institution in this country, our federal agencies, our school systems, our media, and that is the danger to our democracy.
Yeah, it's fascinating through some of the things you're talking about, how much bigger the left has made the former president. I mean, just even with the steps that they choose to make, they just make them bigger right before the primary and caucuses begin. All right, you mentioned it, Iran. The threat there against us is growing, and Iran now is showing its full force. At least so far, that's what it has been. It could be worse. Dispatching a warship to the Red Sea, the move comes after our own troops were forced to take out at least 10 Iran-backed Houthi fighters, better known as Yemeni terrorists, and sink 3 of their vessels on Sunday. According to the military, those boats were going after a commercial ship, an infrequent instance of retaliation after more than 100 recent attacks by Iran-backed, trained, paid-for killers. Critics are asking, where's Biden when it comes to Iran? Watch.
This administration has been very timid in responding to escalations by Iran. I think the president absolutely has to look at what actions need to be taken in Yemen to be able to prevent the Houthis to continue to put commercial and military vessels at risk. The fact that the president's not doing that is giving Iran a total pass and ability to operate without consequences in the area.
Real quick, this from the New York Post editorial board, quote, Iran and its pawns are escalating across the Middle East to push Biden into full retreat. It's a deadly game of cat and mouse, except these mice believe they can scare the cat right out of the house. And so far, he's given them every reason to keep trying. Why is he so weak against Iran?
Well, I think he's a compromised president, but again, he's surrounded by a team of individuals. As Obama's defense secretary, Robert Gates, said, Biden and his team have been wrong on every foreign policy issue in the last 40 years, and their record remains unbroken. But this is a very dangerous escalation by Iran. It needs to be responded to. One of the primary rationales for the U.S. naval strength is to maintain freedom of navigation in the seas. We need to do that with our allies. But again, because of this weakness, because our adversaries sense it, now you have Russia and China that they're not going to punish Iran for this behavior. They're probably egging them on. So again, this is a very dangerous moment in our history brought about by weakness. You achieve peace through strength, and all this administration has done is created weakness in America, and that's emboldened our enemies.
Military leadership that I've been talking with for the last few weeks, even during the break, because, you have time to sit down and talk with people, their greatest concern is that a mistake gets made. And it tips us into some place where we don't want to be in terms of war. Your quick thought. I'll let you go.
No, it's a very dangerous escalation. I don't know, does Iran have sleeper cells in America? You've got
do you think they do?
Raid. It's entirely possible. I mean, we have 6 million people entering this country since the Biden administration started, almost 2 million as I would call them unknown gotaways. They're detected. We know they're into this country. We have no idea who these people are or where they are. Is that what is restraining President Biden? He may think there may be sleeper cells. If he really attacks Iran, they may activate those sleeper cells. Who knows? But again, it's all because of the Biden and the Democrat weakness from their governance. This has to end. Elections matter. We need to win big in 2024 to reverse this.
I appreciate you bringing that up. And you have so thought through a situation that it doesn't sound like the commander-in-chief has. Because if he really thinks there are Iranian sleeper cells in this country, why in the world would you let in 302,000 people in 1 month in December and not be able to vet everybody and know that they're coming in illegally around the checkpoints?
And by the way, Harris, real quick, it's not going to be a piece of legislation to seal the border. We need a president who wants to seal the border and seal it. We have to go down there and we have to secure the border and seal it off and let the world know We're not going to let people in this country anymore. We have to end this. It's going to take extraordinary measures to address this unprecedented migrant flow.
Senator Ron Johnson of the great state of Wisconsin, we will follow the ballot issue today with former President Trump to see if your state tries to keep him off. And I know you say the fight is mighty. Good to see you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.